and welcome to another edition of ProtoBalls Talk. I'm ProtoMet.
This is Barry.
And I'm VeeJay.
How unfortunate.
Yeah, well, tough times. Gotta deal with it.
And today, we will be getting the Halloween-themed 2-month podcasts with...
Spooky Times. It's called Spooky Times, and I will not have it any other way.
Wait a second, it's September. What are you talking about?
Spooky Times is always everywhere.
Spooky times all the times?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
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 But specifically, September and October.
Yes.
I was about to say November. And I'm like,
And
no.
what are we talking about today?
We're talking about Italian horror, brothers.
Oh, I'm out.
Or we are talking about a great movie, great movie, directed by Dario Argento. It is one of his seminal pieces. We're talking about Deep Red, otherwise known as the Hatchet Murders, but we don't call it that.
We don't call it that, and we don't watch that version. We don't acknowledge that version's existence.
So, for anybody who has no idea who Dario Argento is, who the hell is Dario Argento?
He is an Italian filmmaker who started his filmmaking career in the mid-'60s, and one of his biggest early credits before he actually started directing was taking part in the writing of 1968's Sergio Leone masterpiece, Once Upon a Time in the West. Which, by the way, I did not realize that until my second watch through. It's a great film. I hope we get to it one day.
Oh, so it's a Western.
Yeah. No.
Yes. No. Yes?
Dario Argento started his directorial career in 1970 with, I believe it was either Four Flies on a Grey Velvet. I believe it was Four Flies on a Grey Velvet was his first.
So it's a fashion movie.
Shut the fuck up. No, Dario Argento is a horror director. Particularly in the giallo genre, which is basically like murder mystery thriller, but Italianized.
Wait, you're telling me we're covering a horror movie?
Oh yeah.
For a podcast related to Halloween? Get out.
Whoa.
Get out.
Oh,
Get out of town.
Bird with the Crystal Plumage was his first one, yes.
So you lied.
But his early films are actually really interesting takes on the genre, but the giallo genre would be defined by the film that we're talking about today. It is his... I want to say it's his 5th or 6th film. Like
as far as directing goes?
As far as directing goes.
I was going to say, don't ask me, because you guys know more about his works than I do. This is literally the first of his films I've ever seen.
Okay, as far as directing, 1, 2, 3, 5th film. This is his 5th film. Dario, outside of also being one of Sergio Leone's friends, he's also a big friend of George Romero, who did Night of the Living Dead and all the other films, which I hope one day we get to.
George Romero did all of the other films?
Yes.
Did all the other films?
I loved his work on Jurassic Park.
I know!
AI, though, was kind of a stinker. I've never actually seen it.
Fun fact, AI was Stanley Kubrick.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
What?
It was a Stanley Kubrick,
Spielberg?
It was Stanley Kubrick, Spielberg
Co-production,
and then Kubrick died. And so Spielberg... So, fun fact, this is a little side tangent. You know the ending
Little digression?
Little digression. You know the ending to AI?
Nope.
Nope,
No?
never seen it.
So there's an ending to AI that's, like, really bad and really ridiculous, and, like, all of the other, like, co-producers and co-writers and whatnot were like, this is bad. This is a bad ending. This will kill the film dead. And Spielberg insisted that it be put in the movie because it was Kubrick's idea. Stanley Kubrick made a movie with a bad ending, folks. Because, mind you, this was after Kubrick died. AI is wild. It's a weird movie. But back to Dario Argento. He's sort of outside of like Lucio Fulci in the horror genre. I'd say he's probably like the fourth or fifth most famous Italian director.
You wouldn't count Mario Bava?
I would count Mario Bava as well. Of the most famous, I'm thinking Sergio Leone, Dario Argento, Mario Bava, Lucio Fulci, and I'm thinking one other Western director.
You got me.
Right. I can't remember his name. He did the first Django film. I can't remember his name, but he's probably up there too. So yeah, it's
Sergio Corbucci?
yes, Sergio Corbucci. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. It's so I'd say he's probably like a who's who of Italian directors. And his giallo films are really interesting, and they're sort of leaders of the genre.
Well, hold on. Let's take it a step back here. What you keep saying giallo? What is giallo?
Giallo, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is sort of like a whodunit thriller. It's so think like Friday the 13th is a slasher film, and Halloween is a slasher film, and Nightmare on Elm Street is a slasher film. Take those settings, but like make it like Psycho, if that makes sense.
Okay, so add a little bit of mystery, a little bit of thriller.
It's a mystery thriller slasher movie.
Well, the one thing you're also leaving out of that is that they're generally more more bloody, more gory. They're very special effects heavy.
They are very pretty gory for the time, especially for 70s standards.
I'm not gonna lie, I expected this movie to be a lot bloodier than it actually was. Especially given the title.
Oh yeah, Deep Red sets itself up to be like a very bloody movie.
And don't get me wrong, it does have some very bloody scenes. It's just not nearly as many as I was expecting.
No.
Compared to other giallos, it's pretty tame. Tame movie.
I mean, compared to other Dario Argento films, this is incredibly tame.
Yes.
This movie has about maybe half the blood that a movie like one of his later films, Suspiria, would have, which is also another incredible film. But so we're gonna do something a little different. We're not gonna go through the plot of.
I feel we should at least cover some of the plot, but only up to a certain point.
We're gonna give the synopsis, but we're not gonna give too much of the plot away.
We're not gonna spoil the ending because it's really good and you should go see it.
Like we said, this is a kind of a murder mystery type movie. And
this movie should not be spoiled because if we go through the plot, it spoils itself very early on. There's certain elements in the synopsis that sort of.
It's a kind of movie that if you're eagle-eyed enough, you'll figure out what happened, who the culprit is before you even see a murder.
Yeah.
Almost.
I'd say after before there's even a murder. Well, no.
No, before
at least after the first murder.
After the first murder.
Before the ball really gets rolling on the actual
really early
mystery.
in the film, you can figure out what's going on.
Before it actually becomes a proper mystery.
Right. So a basic synopsis is that we follow the day-to-day life of this English gentleman who's just hanging out in Rome. The movie was actually filmed in Turin. Was filmed in Turin. This man, Marcus Dolly, who's played by David Hemmings, who does a fantastic job in this film. And he's a musician. So
pianist specifically.
A pianist specifically. So he is naturally sort of on edge all the time.
Apparently.
Apparently pianists are always on edge.
They're always on edge. Because there's a line that he says, because because he's made fun of for being tense all the time. And he's like, I'm a pianist. That's just how I am.
This is how we are.
That's just how we are. We're very wound up people.
We're very sensitive to the arts.
But before we
artists
get introduced to him as a character,
the
opening bit shows a bit of bloodiness, kind of setting the stage for the mystery.
There's a setting of a murder that we've witnessed. But we don't know the specifics of what's going on.
Well, specifically, it's a silhouette. You're watching shadows cast upon a wall,
which is a very, very well done scene. Very well, nicely photographed scene. And then we cut to this
psychic woman, Helga.
Helga Ullman, who is German,
who she explains to an audience because they're in like a theater,
a symposium of some sort.
She's explaining how her powers aren't predicting the future, they're reading thoughts in the present and perhaps even potentially lingering thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And
to prove this, she basically exposes a guy who has his hand in his pocket holding something. Telling everybody in the audience what it is he's holding and why it's significant.
Yeah, she says, you have a key ring, and there's 5 keys, and one of them's really long. And he pulls out this keychain, and sure enough, there's 5 keys, one of which is really long.
And like...
For me, that's just a plant.
Yeah, it seems like a plant to me.
Yeah, but
that is oddly specific considering everything that happens after this point.
And to drive the point home, a little further, her associate... I can't remember his name. But
she's got 2 of them.
She's got 2 of them, but only one of them's actually important. And he's like, have you ever met this woman before? And he's like, no, I haven't.
But the whole awe of the situation kind of comes to a bit of an abrupt end when Helga senses the thoughts of somebody who has killed and will kill again, and goes into some rather vague details, which are enough to get whoever she's reading the thoughts of to get up and leave. Not that anybody seems to notice.
No, nobody notices.
And I love the fact that at this point in the movie, we're seeing from the killer's perspective, them leaving the theater while this is all happening.
Right. Many of the scenes are shot from a first-person perspective, and they're very well done.
I especially like the first-person perspective scenes that you don't realize until late that it is a first-person perspective scene. There's a good one much later on in the movie.
If there's one thing that Dario... There's many things that he's great at, but if there's one thing that he is excellent at, it's his ability to have his filmographer shoot a scene in a very specific way to convey a sort of mood. And many of the scenes that he does are fantastic. They are excellent at conveying moods. Because there are some shots that are very claustrophobic, and some shots are like there's a dolly shot through a window that's very well done.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
But there's also a lot of like random shots that just seems like they should have been left on the cutting room floor, but maybe they decided, you can't really know unless we ask the guy, but it seems like a lot of these shots were just kind of thrown in for either like to break up the tension or for comedic relief or just to make the audience wonder what the heck was that? And then what was up with the guy on the bike with the Italian flag?
God, yes! That scene gets me every time. Viva la Italia! It's just like some shirtless guy on a bike and he's waving the Italian flag and it's like, what the fuck?
Like it's used for a segue, but like, why? You could have just cut to the next scene.
This movie is all over the place, and that's what makes it so good.
Oh yeah, it's very hyperactive in a lot of different ways.
But yeah, this person goes to the bathroom, and that's when they start to formulate a plan of sorts. That they're planning on sort of killing this woman
Well, one would assume.
One would
would
assume.
think. I don't know, because it's like how do you say? Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Give me carry on.
But I do like this one bit, like after the whole symposium or whatever that's going on, where we get a moment of the actual clarity that yes, Helga is a legit psychic, because because as they're leaving the auditorium, she has another flash and she assumes that it's just the residual memory. But we, the audience, are aware that she's being watched. So that offers up confirmation for the killer that Helga is legit.
And
as if the diatribe that she went on earlier about a child in a house, we must close everything, close all the doors, or something like that.
How specific it was vague enough to not be very specific, but specific enough to trigger one person into realizing, shit.
And, the specific wording, too, also comes into play later in the movie that she used.
But
Because it's a very specific language.
Yes.
But we cut to Marcus, and he's out on the streets of Rome, and he meets his young friend, Carlo.
who is drunk off his ass and still drinking.
And also a pianist. So very sensitive.
So very
I
sensitive.
didn't know he was a pianist.
Oh, you didn't catch the scene where...
Yeah, okay, a little side note, there's a scene where where Marcus and Carlo start playing the piano in the bar, and one of the
Right, okay.
and one of the barkeeps is like, "Oh God, I hope the boss doesn't find out." And Carlo's good at piano, otherwise he'll be out of here. He'll be out of a job for sure. So apparently, he works at this bar.
Oh, I guess I just didn't catch on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like little things that are only brought up once that if you're not really paying attention, and it can be hard to because the movie likes to switch between English and Italian for technical reasons. Apparently they lost some of the original audio for the film, so in later releases and in current modern releases they just have the Italian audio with subtitles.
I
it likes to
think
ping pong back and forth.
To be honest, I kind of like it.
I do too.
Because they're in Italy for one thing, but it's also the Marcus is English, so
it would make sense that he would be more familiar with English.
Right. It just seems like they're having conversations and switching languages mid convo because they're comfortable.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I kept having to remind myself that you had said that they were missing some of the English audio. Because there were some bits that seemed pretty important, but were in Italian, and I kept thinking, well, why did they cut that out of the English version? Oh, right, they didn't try to.
Yeah.
Right.
The interesting thing about how Dario Argento directs his films is he has all of his actors he cuts scenes with them just talking in their normal language.
And there's a lot of Italian actors and a lot of English actors in this film, and he directed them to speak in their native language.
Yeah,
and then they dub it later, which is an interesting approach.
It's the same thing that Sergio Leone did with the Dollars trilogy and whatnot.
I think there may have also been some Toho Godzilla movies that did that as well.
Sure, I mean they're going to be dubbing the movies anyways for international releases.
But Sergio,
I think Latitude Zero is a good example.
Okay,
since that one is a Japanese-U.S. co-production, so had a lot of English actors.
Sergio Leone would sort of dub everything over, so he didn't give a fuck if you spoke English or Japanese or Spanish or Italian or whatever, because he's gonna dub over everything, even all the sounds. But Dario Argento would just let his actors and actresses talk, and it feels natural, in truth. And I think that's sort of more what makes this movie more appealing.
Yeah, a lot of this film doesn't feel like anybody was really directed. It was just like they were just people naturally acting as if they had been going about their daily lives. Pretty cool.
But Marcus basically tells Carlo to go home because he's drunk and heads home himself.
Which Carlo promptly ignores.
Oh, yeah. He goes back to the bar.
But on his way up to his apartment, Marcus, I'm pretty sure they kept calling him Marco, but maybe that was just a nickname they were using.
Yeah, they were calling...
It is Marcus.
Okay.
It's Marcus Dolly, but they were using it Marco as a nickname because I think Marcus is more English and Marco is the Italian.
Sure, makes sense.
Romanized name for Marcus.
Makes sense.
But anyway, he happens to notice that one of the apartments has its door open, and
he literally witnesses this woman die. He sees a murder right in front of him on the street.
He didn't just stumble into the apartment. He was outside after having sent Carlo off, and he's lighting up a cigarette, if I recall correctly, and
he just sees.
He looks up and he sees
Helga,
which coincidentally is his upstairs neighbor?
Downstairs
neighbor?
Downstairs neighbor, yep.
Because if she were his upstairs neighbor, he wouldn't have gone up that far.
So these two at least definitely know each other, or at least have met.
They're acquaintances.
Yes.
And
he looks up and he sees that she's pressed up against the glass of her apartment window, and then all of a sudden, she goes right through it. Not falling out the window, but just...
She gets hacked right through this window. Like, it is gruesome looking. Her head breaks the window, and then her neck goes on.
Huge chunk of glass right up into her neck.
Yeah, and then
like it looks like, somebody got fucking punched through a glass window and fucking got murdered.
Yeah.
And it's at this point that it prompts him to run back into the apartment to see what he can do.
And just like, she's dead. She's fucking
So
dead.
He calls in the cops. They clearly are not competent.
These cops are not the most competent. It's explained in the film that they're going on strike.
Yes, these police officers are on strike, so they're not even like.
So they're not really trying.
Like the first real indication is like the lead detective is on the crime scene eating a sandwich.
Oh yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's like, brutal murder. I'm just gonna have a snack.
But
right in the middle of the crime scene.
Yeah, a little unprofessional, but mind you, this was the 70s. So that sort of thing was, how do I put it, more common than you think, as even in the United States.
I believe it.
But another indication that these guys aren't that professional is when a news reporter manages to get into the crime scene.
And here we're introduced to Daria Nicolodi, good old Dario Argento's on-again, off-again girlfriend.
Yes.
And that's...
Her late...
Yes, late girlfriend. That's a fact. They were on again, off again for like years, and so she shows up in like almost all of his movies.
Yeah, this is actually the first movie that she shows up in of his, and I think she's in the next 5 in some role or another.
I think her last film is either Opera or Phenomena.
Okay.
So like one of the last good Argento films.
And she does a good job in this one.
She's great in this one.
Oh yeah, she's one of the main characters. The most of the movie centers around her and
Marcus investigating.
And what sets off the rest of the movie is Marcus feels something's off. He had noticed something that he feels like he's missing now. Like something was there, but he just doesn't know what.
Yes, as he was cautiously approaching the crime scene, he just something felt off about it.
And since the police are basically incompetent, he and Daria Nicolodi's character, I'm trying to think of her. Gianna. They decide maybe we should just sort of do our own little investigation, which, by the way, is totally illegal in the United States. I don't know about Italian law.
Yeah, you can't exactly Scooby-Doo that shit.
No, well, it's great too because Marcus initially is like, well, this is what happened. I reported it to police. I'm done here. And then he gets this nagging feeling that he just missed something, and he cannot let that feeling go.
And that's how the rest of the movie sort of plays into itself. It's basically Marcus being so stubborn that he's like,
I know I saw something, but what was it?
And I think that's a good place for us to cut off.
Yes.
As far as explaining the plot.
Yeah, it pretty much introduces all the key players and... Yeah.
So, instead of going through the rest of the plot, what I felt that we decided that we should do is more talk about our favorite moments, or characters, or scenes in the film, and also what we liked and didn't like about the film. So why don't we start with you? What did you like? Who was your favorite character?
Who is my favorite? Gianna, easily Gianna. She's the perennial tomboy character. Just if Marcus is the straight man, what's the opposite of the straight man in the comedy duo?
Atsuke Bukomi, I think.
What?
I was thinking the same thing, but I couldn't remember the exact...
I think it's this...
You've always got the fool and the straight man. And
there we go.
She's definitely the fool, but she's always like one step ahead of Marcus.
She's comedic, but she's also competent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Marcus is such a dick around her. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, there's a bit of misogyny early on in the film where he's like, women are just genetically like lower beings than men, and then he loses to her in an arm wrestling match
twice.
The first time, he's just like, oh, come on, I wasn't ready. And then the second time, he's like, all right, we're going to do this for real. And they have like a 5-minute buildup of like, okay, here's the rules. Here's how you do arm wrestling. Let's go. And then they have like a good match, and then she just cheats. And still beats him. And he gets really upset about that. And then he's such a dick about it, but then later on in the film, he's like, well, you women have all the muscles. It's us men that do all the thinking. So it's like, he's clearly not, like, he doesn't have conviction to these thoughts. He's just being an asshole to her.
And to be fair, at that point in the movie, she's kind of forcing herself to be in his situation.
Right. But it feels very natural.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like that these two are kind of...
They have great chemistry with each other.
They have hit it off, and they're already bickering like an old married couple.
Especially Gianna's vehicle, her beat-up car, is the best thing in the film.
Oh, watching the movie, I just kept getting reminded of a character from the Japanese live-action show Android Kikaider. Mm-hmm. And there's this side character, this comic relief character, who's named after a ninja, but he's a private detective and slightly incompetent, and he just constantly has car troubles. Like, that's not his whole shtick, but it is a memorable shtick that he does have.
A private detective with car troubles, you don't say.
It's like everything's wrong with this car except for its ability to get from point A to point B.
There's a running gag where Marcus has to flip up the flap.
Because he accidentally locks his side door.
What is that flap called? Like the sun block?
The sunroof. Or the sun blocker.
The little flap that comes down to block the sun if you're...
I thought you were talking about something else.
No.
Well, yeah, he also has to get out through the sunroof because he accidentally locks the door.
Yeah,
and then she's like, you didn't lock that, did you? It doesn't... Like, you need a mechanic to unlock it.
Yeah, and there's a scene.
And she has to enter from that side because the driver's door doesn't open.
And there's a great scene later in the movie where they're sitting in the car and Marcus is all quiet and then he's like, shit! And she's like, what? Take a guess. Because the door locked.
And then it cuts to them climbing out through the sunroof.
Yeah.
I missed that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there car troubles and everything. There's a great scene where he has to get out the sunroof at the bar in plain daylight, in public, in front of like all these people who don't even gawk. They're just like, whatever.
It's like this is Italy. This is normal.
This is
apparently.
Viva la Italy! Who's your favorite character?
I'd say Marcus, but really only because he's the main character.
Right. I would say Marcus myself.
But Gianna would be a close second.
I think Gianna's the most likable character. I'm gonna throw a curveball out there. I'm gonna say the police detective.
The one who's eating the sandwich?
Yes, the one who's eating the sandwich.
Jesus.
I like him. He's funny.
As a comedy relief character, yes, he is pretty funny. He does what
and this movie
he needs to.
This movie is there's a couple of other characters I'd like to bring up, but this movie really puts comedy relief in just like the right places.
Absolutely, it breaks up all the tension with just the right comedic timing.
It's not like Friday the 13th, which is just like, all right, all the comedy relief's out of the way. Now let's get to the tension and the killings.
Let's get to the good part.
Like, there's plenty of comic relief in this movie, but it doesn't quite dissipate the tension entirely.
When these characters are in danger, you really feel that they're in danger.
Yes,
and you feel it more because you've had a few laughs with them already.
Right, you better understand the characters.
This movie doesn't want you to feel miserable all the way through. It wants you to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
There's more to life than trying to solve a murder.
Yes, there's a great little scene that I think is a cut scene from some of the dubs, some of the other releases of the film, where he's talking to just Marcus, just like casually, and he's asking what he does, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got a cousin who, does this," and he's
so this is a podcast, not a visual medium.
And he's
pantomiming a violin
because he's got the sandwich in his mouth, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I got a cousin that plays violin, but he can't say it."
But he can't say it because he's got the sandwich in his mouth, and he's talking with his mouth full of food. Love it.
And then there's a scene later in the movie which explains why the police are so incompetent because they're going on strike, and
they're on strike, and
one of the officers under him is like, "Oh hey, the police chief wants to see you," and he's like, "Oh great, that's just wonderful."
Yay!
A couple of other great characters I like is Helga's assistant or associate.
Now, are we talking about the? Because there's the German one, and I believe the other one's English. We're talking about Professor Giordani.
Yes,
Giordani.
We're talking about Professor Giordani, who's great,
played by Glauco Mari.
Yes, I believe that's right.
Which, if you, I know you guys can't see this in podcast.
Yes,
but
that's
a
him.
Recent photo of him.
Yeah.
He looks.
He is old.
He looks old. Holy cow! 90 years old at this point. Still kicking though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't look old in this film, though. He looks like a spry young man.
He looks like he's in his 30s, 40s.
Yes.
But he's also a great character because he's sort of like the third main character.
Yeah, that'd be a fair assessment. Third main character.
He's the tritagonist.
The tritagonist?
I don't know how to...
The third protagonist.
I know protagonist and deuteragonist. I probably screwed that one up.
Oh, yeah. There is a word for it. I can't remember what it's called, though.
Right.
I think it is tritagonist. Hold on.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
No. He's great.
But he kind of takes a role in the investigation, too.
Yeah, tritagonist.
They're all kind of working together to figure out what happened to Helga.
And they,
or who killed Helga, rather. They know what happened.
He's more cordial with Marcus, and he doesn't really put up with Gianna much.
Yes.
Because they're not in very many scenes together.
Right.
But, he has a very important sort of discovery.
Yeah, and speaking of that, one thing that does annoy me about this movie, though, is the fact that, all these people, it's, 3 times throughout the movie, if I recall correctly, somebody has discovered who the killer is.
Mm-hmm.
And they're right there, able to tell somebody, and they're like, I'm going to publish my findings. Or, something to that degree.
I think that's actually what Helga was doing.
That's what happens to Helga.
She gets killed just after getting off the phone with somebody for... I guess a publishing deal for this information.
Just say their name! Just say their name!
Mm-hmm. And then she gets offed.
Right. Yeah, there's that... Yeah. I'm trying to think here. There's Helga, who has information. There's Rigetti, who also has information. I can't remember her first name. I know the last name.
Amanda Rigetti.
She has information, and then Professor Giordani has information.
Now, Rigetti is the lady that...
Yes, she lives out in the country.
The one with the birds? Okay.
Yes, the one with the birds. And I think the birds are a callback to one of his Dario Argento's earlier films.
Could be.
Bird with the crystal plumage.
I'm still not entirely sure how she gets introduced into the movie, though.
It is kind of...
Is it because she's the one who writes this, article in the book?
Yeah, she wrote an article in a book, or she wrote a book. She's some sort of historian, and the book's about, haunted houses. It's really weird how, it kind of just Deus Ex Machina gets into the story. It's just one of Helga's assistants is the thing she was saying, they remind me of this thing I read in this book by this author. Maybe you should go and check on this author. And that's...
I don't consider that a Deus Ex Machina. That's more like...
Well, considering that guy is never seen throughout the film again...
Right, he probably goes back to Germany.
Because
he's probably like, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
Marcus originally... Well, that's what
Marcus was originally going to do. He was getting ready to leave the country, and he decides to stay.
And even his...
he can figure out this murder.
Even his friend Carlo was like, yeah, you should probably go back to England.
Yes.
Carlo's another great character. There's a scene... that is very out there for the 70s.
That's honestly my favorite scene.
Oh, that scene?
Yes, this is a very good scene.
It's a scene where we get introduced to Carlo's girlfriend.
Or boyfriend.
Girlfriend.
Is she?
She's wearing a bra. She is a woman.
It is girlfriend.
Okay, so...
But, I believe throughout the film, it's this... So it is an actress.
Yes.
It is a woman playing this character, but I think throughout the intention of the film is that this is a gay man, not
a transgender character.
At least
because I did notice her wearing a bra.
So she's that was something I didn't pay. I thought it was a gay man, but
Carlo treats it as such, and
right.
She still does have stubble, but she carries herself like a woman.
Mm-hmm. So let's call her a transgender woman.
That's what I've always been doing since.
Fuck, that's a very progressive thing to do in the 70s,
early 70s.
I mean, Carlo treats it as though we're a bad thing, but certainly isn't.
Right. I mean, obviously the film is set during a period where this is not something you just go.
Yes.
Right.
Homosexuality, even in Europe during the 70s, was not considered a very good thing. It was still very taboo.
Right. To paraphrase Carlo, it's like, oh, yay, you know I'm a drunk, and now you know I'm a fag. Woo!
And it's like...
Basically his words. So.
It was his word.
I don't say that in any derogatory sense. That's
that's literally the quote from the movie.
And
he says it in a self-deprecating
and the very progressive thing is that Marcus doesn't judge him for it.
He's surprised.
He's surprised, but he's like...
But he still carries himself as though he's in front of a woman.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, get the fuck up. You gotta go to work, dude.
At no point does any character outside of Carlo really raise the fact that it's a transgender woman. Mm-hmm. They just kind of treat her as being there and present, and she carries herself as actually being caring towards Carlo. Because when Marcus shows up... Rishi expresses concern for Carlo because he's just basically been in a stupor that's beyond simply being drunk.
Yep.
And she's worried.
He's been very sick lately, mentally.
One of my other favorite characters is Olga, the little child.
Okay. Yep.
The little shithead child. There's a scene where Marcus meets with her dad, and
It's relevant to the plot.
It's relevant to the plot, so we won't spoil much of it. But Marcus goes to leave with Olga because she's gonna show him around, and then her dad gets pissed at her and slaps her in the face, and Marcus doesn't know why until it's revealed that she had sort of stabbed.
She was doing animal cruelty.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was a real reptile or not.
It was certainly moving.
It was definitely moving.
I hope it was, not actually in pain.
I hope this isn't Cannibal Holocaust levels of animal cruelty.
Right.
But yeah, she's another great character. Carlo's another great.
I feel like she's set up to be kind of like a red herring of sorts.
I think so too.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Helga, the fact that she's a psychic in this movie, kind of presents the red herring of this being a more supernatural.
Oh, for sure.
Like once she revealed that she was a psychic and psychic powers, like, oh, it's gonna be a more supernatural film.
It is kind of weird.
Bearing in mind that I have not seen any Dario Argento films, so I have no actual context for what kind of.
The interesting thing is that this is Dario Argento's last film where there's not supernatural elements.
Aside from Helga.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because his next film was Suspiria, which is draped in supernatural energy.
That's probably why I kind of was expecting this movie to have supernatural elements even before Helga showed up.
Yeah.
But once Helga gets off, that's the last of the supernatural elements.
I just want to point out that Tenebrae comes later, and that doesn't have any supernatural that I can recall. I mean, it has been a long time since I've seen that, and the plot is really hard to follow in that one.
I was going to say, I think there's one element I could say is supernatural.
In Deep Red?
No, in Tenebrae. But we could probably get to that later, because it's not really supernatural. It's more just like...
We can talk about that if we ever do Tenebrae.
I certainly would like to. Probably not as part of this particular one, but maybe immediately after.
Probably immediately after Halloween, we could do more Argento films.
Just extend it a little bit.
Of course, I would love to do Tenebrae,
AKA Unsane.
Unsane. I would love to do that. I'd love to do one of his early films, possibly Cat of Nine Tails.
I wouldn't mind doing because I haven't seen any of them. The Animal trilogy. Flies on Grey Velvet, the Bird with Crystal Plumage,
and Cat of Nine Tails. I'd love to do that one. I haven't seen them either.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. Watching Deep Red has kind of gotten me interested in checking out some of the other movies. So I'm glad that you decided that this is what we're doing for Halloween.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to have a good time, you should watch some of Argento's middle films. And he also produced Demons. If anybody's seen that film.
Demons is also a really good
Demons is also really good, and it's draped in Argentoism. What other characters? Every character
I think you pretty much hit them all.
There's a lot of memorable characters, but there's not...
Aside from, Carlo's mom, who used to be an actress. Yeah. But she has such a minor role in the film that it's really...
I mean, at most, she just has the recurring gag of...
Oh, yeah. You're an engineer and a pianist.
No, I'm just a pianist.
I'm just a pianist, please.
You can tell that there's something off about her. Because in the same conversation, she keeps referring to Marcus as being an engineer, despite him being pretty adamant and upfront about being a pianist.
I think she even gets his name wrong 3 or 4 times.
One of the other things I would like to highlight about this film is the music.
Oh God, here we go. This is a whole nother topic. The music in this film is worth the watch alone. Just for the soundtrack. It is just amazing prog rock.
I have to agree. I think I may have heard the opening theme a few times because of you guys.
Oh yeah, we play Goblin. The band who played this is Goblin. There's actually an interesting history about Deep Red soundtrack.
Yeah, and Goblin would go on to do more Argento films too. Mm-hmm. They did the soundtrack. They did the soundtrack for the international, or was it the international release of Dawn of the Dead?
It was the international release of Dawn of the Dead, and that is the soundtrack that I think is their best outside of Deep Red, because Deep Red is just great prog rock. I think Dawn of the Dead's Goblin soundtrack is just very moody. Yeah. It's so good. And when we do Dawn of the Dead. We gotta do the extended hours.
Wait, this movie is going to be hours long? Oh no!
So
is this Lord of the Rings long?
The thing about Dawn of the Dead is it has like 3 cuts and none of them are good. So like some people.
Are we talking about the international release? Because like the American release is really good.
No, see, here's the thing.
Lay it on me.
So there's 3 releases. There's the theatrical release, there's the director's cut, and then there's the European cut. The theatrical release is what you and I have.
Okay.
And that one takes out most of the comedy, but keeps in the social satire.
Okay.
And then there's the director's cut, which has a couple of other scenes, keeps in the social satire. And then there's the European cut, which takes out all of the social commentary and just keeps it action-packed.
Okay.
And like those cuts are about like an hour and a half at most
from like each one. So
from
there's like about an hour of footage missing.
There's about an hour of footage missing from each one.
I did not know this. I need to see this version.
The extended cut takes all of those cuts and patches them together and keeps the music from each cut in. So you get like scenes from the European cut, like music from the European cut on like the theatrical release, so it's the European version. Like, you can tell which one's which.
Gotcha.
And it taps out at 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Hey, that's not too bad.
That's not bad at all.
Deep Red's like 2 hours and 7 minutes, so it's extra 10 minutes.
But the main thing that it keeps is it keeps the comedy, it keeps the action, and it keeps the social commentary, and it keeps it nice and concise at a little over 2 hours, 15 minutes.
I would watch Dawn of the Dead. I mean, it's like an extra long version of that. The movie's a masterpiece. But then again, that's what I said about Aliens, and I can't stand the special edition of Aliens. Way too long. Those things deserve to be cut. But nice digression. Back to the music.
Yes, the music of Deep Red, nonetheless, is made by Goblin. The story behind the music for Deep Red is very interesting. Because Argento had hired like this jazz musician to do it, and they did not get along at all.
Oh yeah, that's right. This was kind of like a last minute.
Yeah.
Hey, can you help me out here?
And Argento fired the musician. I can't think of his name. I think it's Giorgio Gasolini. I think. But
not good with names.
This version of Goblin might be my favorite lineup. You got Claudio Simonetti on guitar, Fabio Pignatelli on drums, Fabio Pignatelli on bass, and Massimo Morante on drums. Oh man, those drums.
Yeah, that everything. Everything. Every instrument, every note, even if you don't want to watch this movie, go listen to the soundtrack. It's on Spotify. Have at it. It's really, really good.
I will say,
even before having seen this movie, having heard the opening theme that thanks to you guys, yeah, solid.
If like the movie had unceremoniously been canned, these guys could have released this as like a prog rock epic.
The thing I will say about the Spotify release, the Spotify album, is it is out of order, and the names are all fucked up.
Oh well, when I did the search, I found like 3 different versions of it. So it's like
the one that has like all the songs on it.
Okay.
That one is all messed up because Mad Puppet is actually like Deep Shadow, and Deep Shadow is actually Mad Puppet.
What is a Rose by any other name?
I guess. I mean, they're all great songs.
Stink Blossom.
You shut your mouth, you.
But I was so excited to listen to it. The first time I listened to the album on Spotify, I was like, oh, yes, it's got all the songs. And then I started listening, and I'm like, no, this is the wrong song. What did you do? Did you guys mess up or something? So, yeah, Goblin's a very good musical act that you should listen to. A lot of their newer stuff I would not recommend.
No, just stick to the movie soundtrack. Stick to this. Stick to Suspiria.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Or even check out Claudio Simonetti's. He's got his own his own Spotify profile that you can check out. He has a very interesting cover of the Twin Peaks theme.
The Phenomena soundtrack is also very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys can do no wrong as far as Argento films go.
So, are there anything else you guys liked about the film? One thing I would say I liked was the pacing. The pacing was very well done, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it's 2 hours and 7 minutes, but it doesn't feel like it's 2 hours and 7 minutes.
I do feel that there is just a lengthy extended period between the first kill and the second, because it's a slasher movie. But I didn't hate the experience between the two.
No,
right, because at that point it's still like billing itself as a thriller.
And I did feel that the entire movie is a good thriller.
I think this movie makes the viewer earn their kills. It's not like, once again, Friday the 13th, where it's just like, we're gonna kill off the kids all at once. There's a kill, there's a kill, there's a kill. Like Friday the 13th Part 4 that we reviewed the other week. It's like...
That was like half a month ago.
Yeah, half a month ago. There's like 5 kills in the span of 6 minutes. And
actually, no, now that I'm thinking about it, that was over a month ago at this point.
But yeah, it's like 5 kills in the span of 6 minutes, and it's like, Jesus Christ, movie, learn to pace yourself.
The really interesting thing about the kills in this movie is that, like, they didn't want it to be like, oh, this person gets stabbed and this person gets shot.
Oh my god!
Like, all of the kills in this movie are based
brutal.
on they're brutal, but they're based on like things that everyone has experienced. Like, for example, Helga gets cut on glass. Everybody has, cut themselves on glass or on a sharp object at some point. I can't really say anything else without going into spoiler territory, but all of the kills are based on things like painful things that most people have experienced.
There is a kill that is foreshadowed by Marcus early in the film when he's on the phone with Gianna at the coffee shop.
Yep.
Because it's
the reason why he plays piano, according to his psychiatrist.
And the reason he plays piano as well.
Yep.
Like Dario Argento has this movie winking at you on...
Oh, yeah. This is also, like, again, you're talking about the length, 2 hours and 7 minutes, but you're going to want to watch this one again, because the setups and the foreshadowing in it are superb.
They are top-notch. And it's... Go on. It's one of the reasons I think this is his technically best film.
It's easily his magnum opus. A lot of people might say Suspiria is. I tend to disagree.
Well, here, I think this is his best film. Suspiria is obviously his most popular film.
Absolutely.
Just like how Maniac Mansion isn't the best isn't LucasArts' most best point-and-click adventure game. That would be Monkey Island, one of them. But it's definitely its most popular.
Maniac Mansion?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Monkey Island gets a lot more credit.
I would agree with that statement.
Monkey Island and Grim Fandango are really big deals.
Okay.
Monkey Island
I guess.
1 and 2. In fact, I think a lot of people say Day of the Tentacle like more now.
But you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, I kind of get what you're saying.
What Maniac Mansion started, the other films
popularized. Oh yeah, I mean Maniac Mansion's certainly the first one to like set up the conventions of their empire, I guess.
Their style of point clicks.
Yeah.
All right.
It has all the hallmarks of what they were going to do.
So we've talked about what we liked about the film. What did you guys not like about the film? Or were there anything at all that you didn't like?
Really, the only downside I could think of was how it was a little hard for me to understand how that one lady who lives out in the country got connected into the whole thing.
Right.
And like I said, like we were talking about, you guys helped me to really figure out that that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably my biggest complaint, too, is that there's a lot of plot threads that just kind of flash in the pan. Like, if you blink, you miss it, and you don't know why. Why are they going here? Why are they going here now?
Right.
Everything is explained. It's just not very well explained.
And there are a lot of details in this movie that can be completely ignored because they're not actually that important.
Oh yeah, but again, I think that's that's on purpose.
They don't really feel like red herrings, though. They just kind of feel like they're there for the sake of being there. Type situation.
One of the things I would say that I think people might not like are the segue scenes. There is a scene late in the film of two dogs fighting.
That's not even late in the film. That's like halfway through.
That's about halfway, 2/3.
Yeah. It's a scene of two dogs fighting for no reason.
Yeah,
it's just there.
It's like a 5-second scene at most, but like it's just there for
that long. It's
and like just prior to that scene, it keeps cutting back between the main characters and this gentleman singing like opera in the middle of a crowded market, which is. Really, it's not out of place because it seems like it's like naturally there, but like it's why is the camera on this guy?
Yeah, there's a couple of scenes where it's like you don't really get what they're going for.
Maybe it's a cultural thing.
It's definitely a cultural thing.
Yeah, it could just be a hallmark of Italian filmmaking that just kind of
goes over our heads.
Goes over us as Americans.
And nothing else you guys didn't like about the film?
I don't like the fact that it took them so long to get us this film because all of the, as we alluded to earlier, the Hatchet Murders was the original American release of this film.
All right,
they completely butchered it.
Let's talk about that.
I think it's only, I want to say they cut like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
of footage out of the film?
think they cut it down to about 75 minutes. I want to say that they did. And, like, you cut out 75 minutes of this movie, and it's not gonna work.
I mean, they cut out, like, most of Gianna's scenes. Right? Is that what I said her name was?
Yeah, Gianna.
Diaria Nicolodi's character?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's
like as we mentioned earlier, she was like one of our favorite characters in the movie.
She's probably the best thing about the film because she actually keeps it moving.
Mm-hmm. Like if not for the fact that Marcus is there as the main character, she would be my favorite character.
If not for the fact that Marcus is the witness, this film would probably follow
her trying
Gianna.
To solve the mystery.
Yeah, probably.
And. But yeah, the Hatchet Murders.
Hatchet Murders, do not watch. Not recommended.
There's not even a hatchet murder in this entire movie.
There's actually several other cuts of the film. There was one that was cut down by a couple of minutes, and I think that one was like a film festival cut. But,
I am not aware of this cut.
Yeah, it's got a really weird... Like most Italian films that get brought over... There's a lot of weird cuts of the film. Like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There were a couple of weird cuts that cut down the time to like, I think 2 hours maybe. And it's a 3-hour movie. You cut out an entire hour of stuff.
I don't recall it being 3 hours, but
it was
fair. It moved at a pretty.
That movie moved at like a horse's pace.
So it just didn't feel like it was that long.
No. Right. So no least favorite things about the film, really.
Not anything absolutely egregious and terrible.
No,
right.
This is still like one of my favorite films of all time. Like it's. I can't find a whole lot to fault it for.
Okay, did we go through favorite scenes already?
Yeah, I think we started with that.
We started with favorite characters, favorite scenes, and whatnot. Alright, then what would you guys rate this film?
Well, what's the scale?
1 to 10.
1 to 10.
It's at least a 9 for me.
I give it an 8.
An 8? I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I think it is the perfect thriller whodunit.
The perfect one.
The perfect one. I don't think there's
none better.
No. You could mention Psycho, and I don't think Psycho is a very good whodunit because you could obviously tell who did it halfway through the movie.
Right, the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. None of his other films really sort of match this pace. there's just no other like murder mystery that really does it for me other than this film. It's I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I'm not a big like mystery movie buff, but I definitely appreciate like the fact that this is like a mystery whodunit, but it's also a horror movie. Mm-hmm. It's also a slasher flick.
Exactly.
It's good. It nails the genre blending.
I agree.
All right. Well then, what are we reviewing next time?
I don't know. What are we reviewing next time?
I don't know. What are we... Oh, sorry.
We're reviewing Suspiria, his second best...
His follow-up to this.
His follow-up to this, which probably got him a bigger reputation than this.
Yeah, and we're specifically talking about the 70s Suspiria, not the...
Right.
Not the remake that came out a couple years ago, 2018.
Oh, man, I really want to talk about the remake.
You know, did you know that George Romero was approached with plans for a remake of this movie, of Red?
Yep.
And he turned it down because nobody had told Dario Argento.
Right, yeah, because Dario Argento's brother, I think Claudio, approached Argento and he's like, "Hey, I'm planning on making a remake of Deep Red. You wanna do it?" And Argento's like, "This sounds too good to be true."
You mean Romero?
Romero is like, this sounds too good to be true. Ring, ring. Hey, Dario, I heard you're making a remake of Deep Red. What?
I'm doing what now?
I'm doing what?
I thought as much.
Click. Sorry, Claudio, I'm going to have to decline.
Yeah, like, Dario Argento's like brother and father were basically his managers for a long period of time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still... I don't know how that situation ever resolved itself, or if...
I think Argento got away from them in the 80s, 90s.
Okay.
And
which is that a good or a bad thing? It's hard to say.
Yeah, we'll say this about Argento: I don't plan on ever watching his films after Opera, which is '87, because then you get into shit like The Phantom of the Opera and the Stendhal Syndrome, and it's like, god damn, they're bad films.
Yeah, he kind of plummeted off a cliff after Opera.
It's sort of like John Carpenter after The Thing. But
I'm trying to think of anything that came out with
there's Ghosts of Mars, but that's like the only thing
the big films that came out after The Thing were what was it? That one of the movies that we did, the two other films that we did.
Oh yeah, right, because that
Prince
was
of Darkness and Mouth of Madness.
Prince of Darkness and In the Mouth of Madness. That's
yeah,
right.
I wouldn't really call either of those like masterpieces.
No,
they're
not bad.
Mouth of Madness is definitely worth a watch. I wouldn't recommend.
I think they both fell off a cliff for different reasons. Okay. Let's say because Carpenter saw the public reception of The Thing and was like, I worked so hard on this film, what the fuck?
Well, I'm just trying to remember, was like They Live, was that after The Thing?
They Live was 87.
Okay, was Escape from New York?
Escape from New York was 80.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, those are the other two big films of his that I know. Oh, Halloween. Did he do Halloween after The Thing, or was that before?
That was 78 and 82.
Yeah, that was like
Big Trouble in Little China when...
Big Trouble in Little China was... I don't think... Was that a Carpenter film?
Yes.
That was a Carpenter... That was 86.
I still find myself a bit surprised that he did that. But,
that was 1986. So I should that was 86. So I should clarify, Carpenter did not feel comfortable doing horror films anymore. Because The Thing got so much backlash. And I think with Dario Argento, he just... After, Phenomena and Opera and all that, he was just like, I'm spent. I've got no more creativity left. I have ideas, but I don't know what to do with them.
Well, he did, if I recall, the Opera was the second in that Suspiria trilogy.
No.
You sure?
No. Opera is not a part of that.
Pretty sure it was. I'm going to look it up quick.
Go ahead. I do not.
One
of them was The Mother of Tears, I believe.
Yeah, Inferno was the one I was thinking
Inferno.
of. Yeah.
Inferno's a decent film.
I was getting Inferno and Opera mixed up because they have really distinct like covers and.
I think Inferno's a decent film. I'm not gonna say it's one of his best. I think it's fine.
It's a cromulent film.
It came between Suspiria and Phenomena, I believe.
Which makes sense because that's the second one, and then Mother of Tears is the third one.
And Inferno is a very weird movie.
Well, Suspiria is a very weird.
Suspiria is a very surreal movie.
Look forward to that discussion next time.
Yeah, because the remakes.
I haven't seen the remake yet. I kind of forgot it existed, and it fell off my radar. If I get the chance,
probably for the best.
If I get the chance to see it, I will, and I will let you guys know whether it's good or not.
It's probably not.
It is.
I can't imagine. Like I've heard. From what I've heard is that it takes like the premise of the film, but then takes it in a wildly different direction.
Yeah.
So kind of like the remake of House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah. Which I actually just watched a couple weeks ago.
How was the original or the remake?
The remake. I saw the original years and years and years ago, and I was watching it with Nikki, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I used to watch this all the time as I was a kid." And after watching it, I was like, "I can see why people hated that compared to the original."
The original's really good.
Let's take the twist of the original and untwist it.
Yeah, the twist of the original. I don't think we're ever gonna do that movie at any point.
I think I'm gonna call it right now. Next Halloween season, we're doing some Vincent Price movies.
We should definitely do some Vincent Price.
Of course, but the twist in the original was.
Don't spoil it here. Don't spoil it here. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say that. You guys gotta have your own. You guys gotta watch that movie. You gotta watch it. You gotta review it. Call me. Tell me to come.
I mean, I've seen it. We could totally talk about it after we're done recording. Then.
Right.
Not during.
Yeah.
But if it's the twist I'm thinking of, then yeah, it's almost kind of like The Haunting.
I haven't seen that one. I know of it. It's on my list.
Oh.
It's on my list.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, okay, long story short, the original Haunting is this psychological thriller. Mm-hmm. The very, very tense, very well done psychological thriller. And then the 99 remake is like, oh, let's just put Liam Neeson. Let's put that guy who's, wow. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, fucking Owen something.
Oh, Kevin Owens?
Owen Wilson.
That's the guy. Kevin Owens. Oh, wow. They couldn't be more different people.
Bro, he's got you topped with more different people. Steve Christie? What'd you get his name wrong with?
Chris Christie.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, they were both from New Jersey. So, I mean, sorry.
This podcast has gone off the rails.
But,
we had rails?
Shit. But no, the original is the psychological...
You guys were playing Pokemon Snap. Over here, I was playing Quake.
Damn! Yeah, the original is very good, and then the remake has Liam Neeson and Owen Wilson, and even Catherine Zeta-Jones can't save this film. And they turn a psychological thriller into, oh hey, there's ghosts! Oh, and people are dying! Yeah! Woo! It's a thrill ride! And it pisses on the original. And it fucking...
As most remakes do. Unfortunately.
Yeah. But this one, that remake makes me angry. Very, physically fist shaking, why, how could you do this? Sort of like the remake of Psycho. Why could I?
You know what? I've seen every single Psycho film, and I can say that the remake of Psycho, it's fine.
Right.
It's a shot for shot. It's just why did it need to exist?
Exactly.
I mean, if you have a choice, if you don't have a choice between the original and the remake, go ahead and watch the remake. It's the same movie.
Yeah.
It's the same movie. But
dude, I would fucking love to do Psycho 2.
Yeah, Psycho 2 is great.
Psycho 2 is amazing.
Well, then I guess we know what we're doing the Halloween season after that.
Yeah.
We got this planned 5 years in advance.
So, with that said, any recommendations?
I thought of one, but I was kind of hoping I could think of something that was more mystery related, so I'm not gonna go with what I was gonna recommend.
Recommendations?
Yeah,
this is the thing you guys do at the end of the year.
This is the thing we do at the end.
You didn't brief me on this.
I'm sorry.
What am I recommending here?
You're recommending anything.
Anything at all?
Yeah.
Anything at all. Okay.
Video,
you know what?
Video
Since I gotta get it out. The Nonary games, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
You should all. If you're into graphic novels and escape rooms, highly recommended. Highly recommended.
Graphic novels? I think you mean visual novels.
No, they're graphic too.
Well,
they have graphics. The graphic novels.
I mean, they are graphic.
But
I'm just saying the proper term is visual novel. But yeah, I played the first one at your recommendation, and it was fine. But I suppose I should have played it a lot more than just once.
You probably should have at least finished.
From what I understand, it gets better the more you play it.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. And now that the remakes are out, you should just play that instead because it's got the flow.
I'm just not really a visual novel person outside of like Doki Doki Literature Club.
I felt the same way, but this is along the same lines as Doki Doki Literature.
But I have heard incredibly good things about the Nonary games. So
see, I'm probably more of a visual novel aficionado than you guys. Mm-hmm. I haven't played it mostly because I haven't had time.
Oh, you want to spend the next half an hour spoiling Danganronpa? We could do that. Now that I finished it.
I mean, yeah, we could. I prefer people. I think I've already recommended Danganronpa.
Yeah, I recall you doing that.
Yeah.
For the record, what's just going to show up on the YouTube version is just the cover of 999.
I've got a recommend.
Like through the entire discussion, that'd be great.
I got a series that Zach has played. Yep. That is a mystery horror mashup. The Chizo mythos.
Oh,
Chizo. The Chizo mythos.
Good old Yahtzee Crosser.
Oh, I played like 2.5 of those games.
I played all the way through. Those games are confusing but good. Like, they're really good.
They are good. I will admit.
I like them.
First,
I don't know if it's easy to get your hands on them.
No,
I think the stuff is down.
Yeah, from what I understand.
I think he stopped.
Which is a shame because the ones that I did play were good.
So,
they got them all backed up.
The Chizo mythos is sort of like a mystery point-and-click adventure. And like in the style of Maniac Mansion.
Yeah.
Except not humorous at all.
Yeah, no, very little humor. There's a little bit.
But it's
definitely more of a slasher point-and-click adventure.
Yes, if you're going to play the series, my first recommendation would be 5 Days a Stranger.
Geez, let's start with the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're gonna start a franchise, you might as well start with the first one.
Not necessarily true.
You're right. Not necessarily true, but I mean, in this case, it absolutely is true.
Yes.
You can play them in order of release.
I mean, hey, if you're gonna start the Star Trek franchise, I highly recommend watching Star Trek 2.
I can kind of agree with that one.
Like, even before any of the shows.
Oh, I mean, sure, watch the shows, but I'm talking specifically the movies.
Like, it's like, if I was sitting here and go, what's the Star Trek you speak of? Where should I start?
Oh,
I've never heard of it.
I'd recommend you to Deep Space Nine first. I'd tell you, don't watch the original series. Don't watch The Next Generation. Watch Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is the one...
That sounds like a hot take.
Deep Space Nine is the one you want to watch, because that one's like... As I explained to him, it's the Star Trek universe, but like taken to its extreme. And it has a lot of dark shit that happens. Okay. And it's like, it is very much a counteraction to Gene Roddenberry's idea of, the future, we're made better because of technology.
It's so idyllic.
And it's so idyllic, and then Deep Space Nine takes that notion and
wads it up, throws it in the trash
and says,
"Do it again!"
And says, "No, this series takes place in the middle of after a war where these people had just been given their free, like the slaves from the South had just been given their freedom of an oppressing force who still hate them, who still see them as lesser, and they're still allowed to be around because why the fuck not? Because the Federation has laws to follow, they have treaties to follow, and these people are allowed to do whatever they please." That's sort of, that's sort of the beginning.
Anyway, getting back to Chizo.
But yes, Chizo.
Jeez, digression after digression.
Hey,
I like your style.
You get used to it after a while because it's like, oh hey, and another thing.
Well, I mean, it's
Well, if
conversation.
you like content that has tangents, go check out Fact Fiend.
But yeah, 5 Days a Stranger, you play as this man named Trilby, who's got a nice little Trilby hat, by the way.
Well, that's where he got
his name.
That's where he got his name. Yeah. He sneaks into this manor after news of this like rich guy passed away.
And turns out he and like 4 others are just kind of stuck there for a few days.
Yep, can't get out.
And there's a guy going around killing people.
No.
Like, not like, oh, the door is locked, we can't get out. It's like, the windows won't open, the other doors won't open.
It's...
Guys! Back door's open.
It's the Dafoe manner, right?
Yeah, it's
I think so.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe is going around and killing people left and right.
In the role that he was made for.
Dude, could you imagine if he had the Green Goblin mask, too?
Well, then you couldn't see his face.
The itsy bitsy spider, yeah.
Unless he was like wearing it like this.
Yes.
You could totally see his face and the Green Goblin.
And he's got that face from the creepy scene. And he's just... He's going around with a chainsaw like...
Chainsaw?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god. So you got nothing, Lucas, huh?
Not really.
No recommendation.
Oh man, what a sad state of
But
affairs.
you guys more than made up for it.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, Chisel Mythos, really good. Nonary Games, highly recommended.
Mm-hmm.
Not much else I guess we need to talk about, huh?
Guess so.
Well, this is this guy.
This is this guy, VeeJay, Zach, whatever you want to call me. I've been on the podcast before. I don't know if you guys mentioned it at the top of the show, but I was on the one with the thing. And was I on another one, or did I have to drop out on that one?
I
feel like there was Mouth of Madness. We did Mouth of Madness together too.
So I think the one you dropped out on
Prince
was
of Dark.
Yeah, I
Prince of Dark.
had a thing pop up.
And
That was actually related to notary games.
and then there was,
Yes, that's right. I remember that.
and then there was the other one where you were like, there's the other one, Halloween, where we're like, oh man, is that gonna join us for it? And then he didn't, and he's like, I don't remember. I don't
Maybe
remember.
that was the one we were. Maybe that was the one.
No, because he was like, I don't remember saying yes to Halloween.
Yeah, you guys either never told me about Halloween or just never asked me to do Halloween specifically. I thought we were just doing the
Maybe in my mind I'm conflating the two events.
No, I knew it was one of the trilogies because I wanted to do
It was
all three of
definitely
them, and I
definitely Prince of Darkness.
I ended up
'cause he
getting
wasn't
sick
on
and
that
just
one.
watching Nikki finish the nonary games. So
Yeah. Oh man, you should put the trailer, the trailer, up first.
the trailer up for like.
Put the trailer to Deep Red.
I don't want to get copyright struck or anything.
It's a trailer. What are they gonna do?
Copyright strike me?
Yeah, they could.
Shucks.
They can do it. They can do whatever they want. YouTube can do
No,
whatever.
you know what you could do? You could put free music on there.
Wasn't there like just news earlier that they like shut down free music or something?
Oh god, I remember seeing a clip of somebody live streaming a game on Twitch, and it was in a. Apparently, this game had a feature where you could shut off the music so that you wouldn't get DMCA'd, and the scene in question was one where clearly there's supposed to be music because the characters are kind of rocking out like broom guitar style and shit.
Okay.
And there's no music.
It's
just them kind of dancing around.
It's like those people who do they redub music videos, but with like the actual audio of like them recording the music video, not actually the music that they were trying to make this music video to. There's a Rolling Stones one that's just really good. It's just like Mick Jagger going.
And it's just like,
and you just hear like his feet clatter on the floor as he's tap dancing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that.
and the person who was doing the live stream just was cracking up because it's like, clearly there's supposed to be music here, but there's none. Like, these characters are clearly reacting to music. They're having fun to music. And it's just stomp. You can hear them stomping around on their hardwood floor.
Speaking of
and them talking to each other, but no music.
Speaking of redubs, another one I would recommend people take a listen to is the Half-Life redubs. Some of them are pretty good. Man. Speaking of another video I think people should watch is the longest
death. Probably cut this short at some point.
Is the longest death in the world.
That scene is less funny when you realize that somebody dubbed in the scream.
Right. Actually, I think it makes.
I mean, the scene is as long as it is, but there's the guy.
Yeah, but there's a scene
of just like a drum beat going on in the background.
There's a scene of that where they redubbed it into Half-Life. I don't know. I gotta show you that after the podcast.
We should just end it because we're just going on tangent after.
All right, everybody.
I'm ProtoMet.
This is Myra Balls now.
And I'm VeeJay. I'm here this time.
Now known as Call Me Barry, but whatever. See ya.
Bye.
Adios.